some fun new things. One of the big new additions to the game, we have, for aesthetic reasons, always had deep water and shallow water. Not always, but for like the last couple months, so that the oceans look a little better and more interesting, right? And I got to thinking, wouldn't it be fun if that had some sort of gameplay significance? You know, maybe it should do something. And I was right in the middle of making a couple new units. Which we can also talk about. I've actually added 3 new units to the game: the highborn smugglers, the giant diseased crayfish, and the goblin traders, coastal traders. Excuse the placeholder art. This is stuff I pulled off Google. We'll replace it with real art before we ship. But the idea was, we were playing and people were starting to feel that the ocean battles were getting kind of fun. Being involved in the ocean was fun, but we only had 2 ships and 1 tentaclor. And how could we make battles with the ocean more interesting? And there was another challenge with Nelson was getting surrounded by both sides. He was getting attacked from left and right, and he wished that he had some way to build an economy from his docks. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if we had some economy ships? So I said, all right, well, let's make an economy ship. So that was the idea behind the Goblin coastal traders, is as long as they're near the coast, they can trade and make some money. And then I thought, oh, what if we had a stealth ship that could do the same thing? That would be fun. So I made a smuggler ship, which actually also has stealth and also has the coastal trading ability. And because I thought it was kind of a cool ability, I gave the coastal trading ability to sloops too. So if they want to make money, they can do that. And then I thought, well, how do I make sure that they can only do things next to the coast? And I started, looking at the logic for scripting next to the coast. And I said, you know what? I've actually, and because the problem was, how do I explain it to the player? I mean, obviously we can script that and we can make it work, but how do you explain it to the player that you have to be here or there? And I thought, well, I've got this shallow water marked on the goddamn map. Why don't I use that? And so I actually went in and changed and made shallow water and deep water 2 different things, which before they weren't. It used to just be aesthetic, but now it's actually coded as 2 different things, shallow water and deep water. And I said, now, if you are a coastal ship, you can go in the coastal waters. If you're a deep water ship, you can go in the deep waters. If you're aquatic, you can go in either one. And for the amphibious creatures, you can go on land and shallow water, but you can't go in deep water. And so now it actually creates kind of a fun interplay of, getting back to my units, I've got a Royal Man of War, which can go in any water, but it can't go on land. I've got the Tentaclor of the Deep, which can go on water, but it can't go on land. Sorry, he used to be amphibious. He's not now. But then I said, well, let's have an amphibious creature. So I've got these giant diseased crayfish, which can go on the shallow spots, and they can go on the land, but they can't go out here in the deep water. Sorry, diseased crayfish. And then so now there's sort of an interplay between all of the different places things can go. So when I'm building something, it's not just a water unit, it's a deep water unit or a shallow water unit or an amphibious unit. And we started playing with it. We played 3 games, and I love my crayfish. Oh my god, they're God's units, and I just make little crayfish armies and take over the world with them. Another thing that we added, I was sick of all of our bridges looking exactly the same. And I thought some of our maps looked kind of crap because they were just covered with bridges. And so we added 2 things. One, we have added fords, and a ford can be crossed by boats. It can also be crossed by people. The caveat being it's little tiny islands, right? So, people could cross these little tiny islands. Boats could get through the channels. And so now I can create an area like this where if I want to drive my ship up into this lagoon, I can do that. If I want to drive my guys across that, I can do it without having to have a bridge. So I thought that was cool. But I also wanted some new bridges, so I got the artist to make us some new bridges. We now have a whole world of fun and interesting bridges, so I can replace that with that bridge or whatnot. So I have a world of fun-filled bridges for our amusement. So now you can see there's all of our family bridges. So that was exciting. There was another thing that we did, and this is not quite done yet. I was looking at the way our game looks, and here you can see one of our cities. And when we started this game, I was real scared of hexes because I was scared about our game looking like a game for nerds. And people, when they see a game with hexes, they're like, dude, that game is for nerds. And I wanted to make our game, and if you look at our just normal terrain, it doesn't look real hexy. I mean, if you squint a little bit, you can see the hexes in it, but it doesn't look terribly hexy. It looks kind of organic. But then when you look at our cities, you're like, ah, hexes. And I didn't like it. I was concerned, and I was like, how do I? But I had one of my staff who's working on a different project, a guy named Tony, come and play it, and he was like, well, why are you scared of hexes? It's a strategy game. Strategy gamers love hexes. What? Well, this worry that you have is not a thing, Chris. And I thought about it, and he was like, you should lean into it more, Chris. You should just like accept that your game has hexes and not be scared of it and use it. And I thought, that's not a bad idea. And I got to thinking, we used to have these kind of square forts that were trying to look good on a hexy based environment. And I was thinking about the way our castles are made. And I said, wouldn't it be cool if we could actually, I think I still have the old forts. Our old forts were kind of square like this cathedral, but they looked like forts. I said, well, what if we actually made our forts into hexes like the actual thing? And what if they actually just mated right in there like that, so they actually fit? So I could actually build like a little city with, fortresses, and actually have it all mate and look kind of good like that. We're still in the middle of that process. It's not done yet. But I'm envisioning a world in the future where I might make, for instance, I might say, you know what, this whole swamp area right here, I'm going to build that into its own little city area where maybe I've got some city buildings, and maybe I've got some other city buildings. Maybe I've got a great hall there. Maybe I've got elven building there. Right now these are different. Let's see, I can give them all the same base ground. Now I can actually say this whole area here is one big huge city, right? And let's say I want to put some, maybe they want to have a big pyramid right in the middle of their city. That's the sort of thing you might build in a city. Let's not build it there. Let's put it in the center of your city. And then let's see, Control Shift. What is it? Control Shift? Yeah, Control Shift picks up stuff. So let's say I actually build my big huge city like that, and then I say, hey, you know what? I want to put walls around my big huge city. I can actually make a whole city thing like this, if that makes sense. But anyway, you get the idea. So now we could actually make urban maps that have a big city as part of it. And later on, when we get further in development, I can make different city parts that are more or less expensive and give you, because right now, if I were to build that city in our game with the villages, this would be stupid powerful. This city would have like if you took that over, you would win the game immediately. So I need to make some less powerful city parts. But the long-term dream is maybe I can make not a full fortress, but maybe I could build like a tower that would be part of this, that would kind of look good. So maybe the city's got a little. Right now, I can't. I got to put walls around it. Let's see, put some walls around that. So now I could actually build a whole city with towers and stuff, and I can make it look kind of cool. That's the long-term dream. And we started down that road by testing the theory with the forts. One of the next steps of the process, you can see it looks a little weird because the fort has these walls next to it, so I need to get it so that it doesn't draw the walls next to the fort, etc. There's some more steps in there, but the initial testing leads me to believe that we can create something cool out of this, and I'm kind of excited to do that thing. Actually, I think I have a better fort for this. I think I've got a orc fort that might sit next to there. Better. Not you. There. So now you can see it kind of looks like that, and it kind of makes sense. And all right, now my orc city becomes a reality, and you can kind of believe in that. Then maybe I can make another unit which is like, okay, this is the opening courtyard that's got big gates in it and stuff like that. And we can actually build a pretty cool looking city. So that's one of the dreams that we're in the process of working on. I want to show you another thing that we have done in the development of this game recently. Control Q. I do want to confirm editing the editor without saving. We have been working on the Regiment select screen. Now remember, this is placeholder art. We haven't gotten the final art in yet. Right now we're just making it work properly. But I like this a lot better. So here you go. You can flick through all of the different pages. So you can flick through the pages real fast. You can see over here on the left, here are your heroes. When you choose a hero, that will actually make the hero units that go with him or her available. So let's say I chose Olivia here. Now that I've chosen Olivia, I can get my Wyvern Scouts or my Sellswords, my Mercenary Scum, or my Highborn Smugglers. I need to put some notes in here that tell you, oh, you can't get him because of that. You'll notice we updated the cards as well, so each one of the different factions have their own sort of interesting, fun card backs. For instance, that's the... I think this has been coded incorrectly because it's showing you the same card back for each one. But I swear they have different card backs. You can see. See, look, he has a... Well, see, when I do that, we gotta update the code. But you can see in this version of him, he has a different card back. He has the Red Keep card back instead of the... See here, they all have Red Keep card backs as opposed to those card backs. So anyway, bit by bit, we're kind of getting somewhere. That's what we've done. That's what we've done in the last week. That, and I built some maps and a whole bunch of bugs and little stuff that you guys don't care about. Lots of little things we have done. It's, you know, oh, okay, there's this corner case when you do this one thing with this one unit that you hadn't really considered. Oh, you have to go do that. And that's a day. And you're like, I hadn't really planned on that today, but that's what you have to do. So the list of what we did last week is full of a bunch of that kind of stuff, but that's how that is.